Welcome to our session on setting up enableHR, additional features, getting ready to train your managers and launch to your employees. If you're watching this session, you should have already attended or watched our introduction to what enableHR can do for you, and also our account setup, getting you up and running session. If you've completed the steps we covered in the previous session, your account will be branded with your company details, your branch structure will have been set up, your employees will be sitting as records in your enableHR account with all of their associated documents and competency records completed. You will have also uploaded your company HR documents. This session is designed to take your setup of enableHR to the next level and assist you to utilize all functionality within the system. In this session, we're going to take you through the additional features that you can utilize in enableHR. We're going to cover how to set up your organization chart, security and user access for managers, employee professional development. I'll provide an overview of the online performance review section, an overview of work health and safety. I'm going to show you how you can manage and set up contractors and volunteers. We'll cover the Seek integration and also the applicant portal. And then finally, launching of enableHR. Depending on your organization, your priorities and your goals, you may not choose or need to use all functionality that we cover in this session, but it's a good idea to know what's available to you. At the end of today's session, you'll be ready to learn how you can use enableHR to manage your employees on an ongoing basis. So let's jump into the demonstration and get started. This is what you'll see when you log into your enableHR account. This is the home screen and the management view that you should now be quite used to. I'm currently logged into an Australian account. The look and feel will be the same for our Australian and New Zealand accounts. However, the legal documents and templates within the system will be different to reflect differences in legislation. There will also be some terminology differences between both countries. You should have already watched our introduction session, which takes you through the navigation of the home screen. If you're attending this setup session, you're most likely an account admin and should have access to see and do everything needed in your account. If there is something that you can't see or do, please let us know so we can check your user access settings. We also cover this topic later in this session, so it might be something that you can look into yourself. We're going to start the session by covering how to set up your organization chart. The organization chart functionality in enableHR is based on the employee rather than on a position within the organization. Once set up, your org chart can be used in setting up your access control settings for other management users. It is also used within our online performance review functionality. Depending on the size of your organization, you may need to contact us and request an importer to set up your org chart. However, I'm going to show you how you can set it up directly from your employee records. So you're going to want to navigate to an employee record. Under their Details tab, you'll see that there's an org chart tab. Under here, you will be able to see a Move option. Click on that Move and select to change who this person reports to. You'll then select the manager that that person reports to. If you don't see a full list of management users, untick this branch only and possibly its sub-branches and hit search again, and you should be given a further list with everybody included. To change who they report to, just select the person, click proceed, and that will update the record. For the person who sits at the top of your org chart, ensure when you're updating their record that you select Move to the top of the org chart rather than Report to no one, as this will set the root of your org chart and everyone else will flow down from there. Each person logging into your enableHR account should have their own unique user details. You shouldn't share user access between different management users for security and auditing purposes. We have a number of ways that you can control a user's access to Enable HR, as all users have access roles assigned to them, which dictate which aspects of the system they can access. First, I'm going to show you how you can add a new user on the management side of Enable HR and go over the various user access controls available to you. So you're going to navigate to Settings and Account Settings, and then to your Security tab. Under here, you'll see that there are two tabs for users. The Users tab, the first one, is where you will create and control your management users. Your ESS Users tab, just here, is where all of your employees who will only have access to the employee self-service area of the system will sit. When you're first getting it set up, there won't be anyone listed under this particular tab. For ESS users, their access roles will be assigned by default, and you shouldn't need to adjust these. You won't need to create an ESS user in the same way we're going to create a management user, so you're unlikely to really need to use this tab, and we'll cover how your employees can register for ESS later in the session. Your users will have access to both the ESS side and also the management side of Enable HR, as whilst they're managers, they are still employees in your organization. As they will be listed under the Users tab, they won't also appear on that ESS users list just here. They will only appear on one or other. If it is that you want to change a management user into an ESS only user, we can do that by just updating their details rather than creating a new user for them. To create a new user who will be able to access the management side of Enable HR, click on New User just here and add the relevant details about your user. For their username, this can be anything, but most people choose to use email addresses. Enter the details. When you get down to password expired, if you select this, the user will be prompted to enter their own password when they first log in to the system. If you're going to want to test their user access prior to providing them with their login details, don't tick this option when you first create the user. You can test their access, and when you are happy with it, click Edit on the user and mark their password as expired prior to providing them with their login details. If your user should be able to access all branches within your account, you're going to want to select Grant Access to All, and this will give them access to all of the branches. However, if you only want to give them access to certain branches, I wouldn't recommend selecting it here. This can be edited and adjusted once you have created the user. We don't usually recommend subscribing your new users to alerts using this option just here until you have sent them their login details. This ensures that they don't get any subscription alerts before they can log into the system. Please note that when creating a management user, you need to provide them with their login details, as we don't do this automatically. This is so that you can control when it's done, and you can set your users up ahead of time if needed. Once you've created your new user on this management side, the system will give that user particular access roles by default. You can update these access roles as required so the user can access the areas of the system you need them to. Navigate to the Access Control tab on their profile, and you will be able to see all the different ways we can provision or restrict access to Enable HR. The first thing that we're going to look at is the roles. These control what a user can see or access within Enable HR. On the Roles tab, before clicking into it, you will be able to see all of the access roles that have been provisioned by default to this new user. By default, all new users are given the Account Admin Access role. This role is the highest level access role and will allow the user to access all settings within the account. You will want to restrict this role to only your highest level admin users of Enable HR, so you may want to remove this from your user. If we click on Edit, underneath those hub roles, you'll see all of the roles that are available for you to choose from. You will need to decide which roles apply to the user you are adding, and if any roles need to be added or taken away. Access roles work on a layering basis. So we recommend starting with the lowest type of access you want the user to have and building up from there to ensure you don't over-provision access roles to the user. I'm not going to go through each role in detail in this session, but you can use the articles on our knowledge base for more specific information on each role that's available. There are 4 roles in particular that we like to point out to be mindful of for users that you haven't given that account admin role to, as they could provide access to sensitive information. The first one, if I scroll down, is grievance management. You need this role to access the grievance or complaint investigation checklist and also the grievances tab, which will list any grievances or complaints that have been recorded in your account. Scrolling down a bit further, and you'll see reporting. This will give access to all of the reports available, which could include personal, private, or financial data. The role below this, restricted documents, will give users access to restricted documents, the ability to create and view them. View sensitive notes, just here, will give the user access to see sensitive notes on an employee record. With sensitive notes, a manager who has recorded a note as sensitive, if they don't have this role, they will still be able to see it as they recorded that note. However, nobody else will be able to see the note unless they have this role or the account admin role. For your users who shouldn't have the account admin role and should be accessing the employee management module, if I scroll up, you'll see that there's a number of different employee management roles for you to choose from just here, depending on how much of that module the user is entitled to see. For example, you can give them access to the full module by clicking on this one at the top, or you could give them access to everything but employment contracts. And coming down further, right to the bottom of the employee management roles, you could give them reduced access to the module so that they don't have access to the documents, notes, or checklists. As I said, they work in a layering basis. So if you were to select both of those, this user would actually have access to this higher one just here, as they've got access to both. So you only need to choose one of them in a particular section. So now that we've looked over what users can view in enableHR, let's take a look at how you can control who your users can view, including their own employee record. You might need to use a combination of these options to get your optimal setup, and it will depend on your individual structure and circumstances. The first setup item, and one of the easiest ways to control who your users can see, is via that branch structure you've set up for your business. So when creating that user, if they don't have access to view everyone within the account, this is where you would come in, click on edit, and select the branches they should be able to access. This works particularly well if you've structured your branches by department. You simply select which branches the user needs to have access to see the employees within that branch. The next tab along is the linked record. For your users accessing the management side of enableHR, you will also want them to be able to access ESS as an employee. To do this, you will need to link their user to their employee record so the system can identify the 2 different sides of the system that they will need to have access to. Here, you also have the option to restrict access to their own profile as well. This will only restrict access on the management side so that they can't see notes and other information about themselves. As you would expect as an employee, they will be able to access the ESS view of their employee file. The next option under this tab is the org chart restrictions. If your branch structure isn't fully optimized to control who users can see within your account, you may want to take it to the next level and restrict access using the organization chart, so your users can only see the employees that sit underneath them in the org chart. You will need to set up your org chart in enableHR to utilize this option, like I showed you just before. As a final option, you can choose to blacklist certain employee IDs from your users so that they can't see their employee record. You may choose to do this if you're controlling access through branches and you have two managers within the same branch. You don't want to be able to see each other's employee records. That gives you an overview of the user access controls available in terms of both who and what you can control managers being able to see within the account. Within enableHR, we have functionality to assist you with managing your employees' professional development. There are two features that you can utilize. You can record objectives and development goals, and you can also run an online performance review process. These two features can be used hand in hand or standalone. If you already have objectives and development goals set for your employees, you can upload these into enableHR as part of your initial setup process. If you don't, you might like to do this as part of your launch process with your employees. To set these up, you can either upload them using an importer, or you can upload them individually directly onto an employee's record. To utilize the import, navigate to Actions up in the top row, and then to Integrations. Through here, you're going to select the Excel imports and select Import Objectives and Development just here. Under Resources, you'll see that we have a template document that you can utilize. Populate it with the information about your employees, and when you're ready, upload it just here and verify that file. Follow the prompts on your screen from there. If you want to enter the objectives and development individually or make any amendments to the ones you've uploaded, what you would do is you would navigate to the employees file and then to their objectives and development tab just here. Click on Add Objective and populate the necessary fields. Fields 1 to 4 are mandatory and fields 5 to 9 are optional. As mentioned, objectives and development goals can be used in conjunction with our online performance review functionality. However, they can also be updated at any stage during an employee's tenure by management or by the employee themselves through their ESS. Personal objectives that are entered into enableHR are the exception, and they will not be included in a performance review process. So you'll see up here under Type, the first thing that you do is you choose whether an objective is personal, operational, or strategic. Online performance reviews isn't an area of enableHR that is necessary to set up prior to launching to your managers and employees. For that reason, we're not going to go into it in detail in this session, but I'll give you a brief overview of what you'll be required to set up when you are ready to utilize it. We also have other training resources specifically about online performance reviews that are available to you through articles on our knowledge base and also some further training videos. As an overview, if you navigate to Settings and then Performance Reviews, under the Key Result Area tab here, you'll see that the system comes pre-populated with a library of around 30 different key result areas that you can choose from. They have a code, a title, a description. They're all linked to our standard 5-point scale, and they also come with some KPIs as well. If you want to use a different rating scale, you can navigate to the rating scale, and through here, you could build out a 4-point scale, a 1 to 10, a yes, no, however you want that to look for your organization. You can then go back to that key result area, and if you're not wanting to utilize our library of pre-built KRAs, select New Key Result Area and enter your own through here. Finally, we have a grouping tab just here where you can set up groupings to help organize those KRAs and easily apply them to your employees without needing to do it on an individual basis. We also have an importer that you can utilize under the integrations option up here to be able to populate all of the information around your performance reviews into enableHR. Once you've completed this first administration part of the setup process, the next step is needing to apply those KRAs to your employee records. So let's go back into an employee record. You would navigate to their performance review tab and then their key result tab. Through here, you would then manage group assignments or individual KRAs, where you can select what should be applied to them. Once you've completed those two different stages of setup for your performance review, you would then manage the process from the online performance review checklist under the employee management workflow. Through here, you can see that we've got two different versions available. We have our standard version and also our flexible version. We do recommend, where possible, just use the flexible version as it has a few more options for you to be able to utilize. For our online performance review checklists, these are ones that can also be launched in bulk from under Actions, Bulk Launch Checklists, and you can select multiple employees to create them for at once. Now that's a very quick overview of the performance review setup and functionality, and I would recommend watching those specific training videos to assist you if you're wanting to get that area set up prior to your launch. If you have access to our Work Health and Safety module, which you can see just here by the red hard hat icon, your setup items may vary depending on how much you're planning to utilize this area of the system. As an overview of this section, you'll see that the workflows have changed color to match the color of the module. So these have turned into red, so you can easily identify that you're not in the employee management module anymore. For Work Health and Safety, we split those workflows into a life cycle of 3 again. This time we refer to lead safety, everything from a governance and compliance perspective, managing safety, and then engaging on safety. These workflows hold all of our checklists or the WHS processes that you may need. There is an extremely comprehensive checklist underneath lead safety, which is called Setting Up Workplace Health and Safety Policies and Procedures. This checklist will assist you to create all documentation required and will provide you with some guidance as to what you need to manage your WHS obligations. Under Manage Safety, the next tab along, you have access to checklists to take you through both hazard and incident management processes, and also one to assist with injury management and return to work. In the document management area down here, you'll see that the tabs have changed because we are in that different module. Within here, there are tabs to manage incidents, hazards or risks, and these can be entered directly within here or by your employees through their employee self-service portal. Under WHS Resources, you will find documents and templates that we provide to assist you. There is also a tab called Our WHS Templates, where you can upload your own templates. If you do use our Setting Up Workplace Health and Safety Policies and Procedures checklist, this tab will be populated with the templates that you create from within that checklist. Under Our WHS Documents, you'll see that the tabs correspond to the workflows. So you'll see here that we have Lead and Plan Safety, which will correspond to this workflow here, Manage Safety, and Engage on Safety. So again, it's just splitting that life cycle up into 3. You can upload your own documents to these tabs. You can also create documents based on the templates pre-built into enableHR. You'll see just here, we have the option to create a new WHS policy. If you use the Setting Up Workplace Health and Safety Policies and Procedures checklist, that one under Lead Safety, it will automatically save the relevant documents that you create through that checklist to the relevant tab under here. Under Registers, the next tab along, you will see that we have a number of different registers that you can utilize. There's a lot of different functionality available to you through this work health and safety module, depending on what you're needing to use. If you want to use either our contractor or volunteer modules, the setup steps are going to be very similar to those we've covered so far in the employee management module. We have importers that you can utilize, that you can access from actions integrations, or you can enter details individually. For contractors, you are able to choose whether it's a company, an organization, or an individual person that you're adding. When you create the record, you'll see that it looks very similar to an employee record, and you can capture a lot of the same information within here. Some tabs in the document management area across here will apply across the employee, contractor, and volunteer modules. So for example, tasks, self-service approvals, and also alerts. I'm going to navigate back to the employee management module now. Now, depending on how you recruit for new members of staff, you may want to utilize our Seek integration or our applicant portal, and some clients do use both. Our client support team will need to assist you with the setup of both of these features. If you haven't yet discussed it with us and want to use the Seek integration, please email the request through to support@enablehr.com. We will reply to your email requesting some details that we will then send through to the team at Seek. With the Seek integration, every time someone creates an application for your advertised role, they will be created as a candidate within your enableHR account. You can then manage them within enableHR using our interview and shortlist candidates checklist that you can access under this pre-employment workflow, this one just here. For the candidates that you don't want to take through that process, you can use our unsuccessful candidate checklist, which is another one that can also be created in bulk from our bulk launch checklists as well. If you want to use the applicant portal, we will need a few details from you to be able to help set that up. We'll need to know which branch you want the applicants to go into as candidate records. We usually recommend that you set up a specific branch for your applicants to go into. We will also need to know which user access role you want to be notified when an applicant is created within your account. Once it is set up, you can use the URL that you can see just here that's specific to your organization on your website, on job boards, or however you want to. When an applicant fills in their details, a candidate record will be created in your account, and any documents that they upload at this point down here will be saved under the Documents tab in their candidate file. So once you've completed all of the setup areas that we've covered so far, you'll almost be ready to launch enableHR to both your managers and employees. The setup items that are left to complete are in relation to your launch, and so they will vary between clients. This is because clients will have different priorities and things that they are wanting to achieve as part of launching enableHR within their organization. For some clients, the focus is on the HR from the management side, so you might find that you don't have anything specific that you're wanting to achieve with your employees from your launch of enableHR. There are 3 focus areas that we commonly see come up with launching enableHR, which are issuing new employment agreements, issuing new company policies and wanting to get digital acknowledgement, and requesting updated information from employees in regards to competencies under training and qualifications. I'm going to show you how to complete your setup and get ready to launch enableHR. However, we don't recommend completing your launch until you and all of your managers have completed the Empowering Managers session on enableHR. So far, we have shown you how to get your account set up, but we haven't yet shown you how to use your account on an ongoing basis to manage your employees. First things first, and you need to have a think about your launch plan and what you might want to achieve as part of it. This will impact the content you include in the messages that we're about to set up. If you navigate to our knowledge base, you will find that we have a section of resources specifically on launching enableHR. I would recommend reading through these resources and picking out which ones are relevant to you. There are sample messages that you can use with two different target audiences, your managers and also your employees. In this session, I'm focusing on the launch items for your employees rather than your managers. And for this, we're going to navigate to Actions and then Self-Service Messaging. Within here, you're going to create a welcome message that will be seen by all of your employees on their notice board when they first log in to their self-service account. In this message, we'd recommend letting your employees know who to contact if they have any questions or issues. And you can either include any action items you want your employees to complete in this message, or you can do separate messages for each of your action items. When setting up a self-service message, think of it as a global message that you're sending to employees. Whilst you can send this message to individuals, you won't want to include any personal information in this option, as the message is not sitting directly on the employee's record. And we'll show you how to send individual messages in the Empowering Managers session. If you have used a branch structure within your account, you can separate messages out to only be sent to specific branches. Otherwise, you can just use all branches. You're going to choose the record type that you're sending the message to. So in this instance, we're going to send it to employees. Enter your subject, your message body using the different formatting tools available, and you can include photos, videos, or links if you want to. If you want the message to be acknowledged, select this tick box just down here. When the message is sent, there will be a note automatically saved to the employee's file to say this has been sent to them with the time and date. If you use the acknowledgement option here, there will be a second note saved when the employee acknowledges that message. The expiry date just below indicates when the message will be visible on the notice board in self-service until, if it isn't dismissed or acknowledged by the employee prior to that date. If you want to add a document to the message, it will need to be saved under your General Docs, Policies tab, or within your Work Health and Safety module. Scroll to the top of the message and you'll see Attached Documents. You can find the message through here using the different sort options, or simply search for your message. Go back to your message details. Once you've filled everything in, down at the bottom, you would choose to send that message. So once you have set up any welcome or action messages for the notice board in Employee Self-Service, and you've attended or watched the Empowering Managers session, you'll be ready to launch enableHR. The final thing that you'll need to do is to get your employees registered for their own access to Employee Self-Service. For the majority of clients, this will be done by emailing your employees and including the unique registration link for your business. To locate this, you're going to go to Settings, Account Settings, and navigate to the Commercial tab. Under here, you will find your own unique URL that you can then use to send to your employees. When one of your employees uses this link, they will enter their email address to indicate who they are. enableHR will locate your account from the link used. The system will use the employee's email address to locate their own employee file in your account and provide them access through employee self-service. Please note, this is unlikely to be the registration method for ESS that you use on an ongoing basis with your new employees. This is the method you will use for your current employees in your launch phase. There are some draft templates for the email under that launch section of our knowledge base that I previously showed you. And you can draft your email so it's ready, but don't share it with your employees until you're happy that your enableHR account is fully set up and you and your managers have also attended or watched our session on empowering managers. So now we've covered the setup and functionality available in enableHR, you'll be ready to learn how you can use enableHR to manage those employees on an ongoing basis. As I've already mentioned, the next thing for you to do is to attend that session on empowering managers. This session is for both account admins and managers and will guide you through how to use enableHR on an ongoing basis. In our next session on empowering managers, we'll cover the following topics: navigate around enableHR, manage employees, communicate with employees via email, self-service, and assigning tasks. We'll go over the workflows and checklists available to you, and we'll show you how to utilize enableHR's employment law templates, and we'll finish off by showing you how ESS works for an employee. If you need a recap of what we've covered in this session, you can access our knowledge base where you'll find specific articles to support each of our training sessions. If you require any assistance in setting up your enableHR account and any of the steps covered in this session, our client support team are here and ready to help. The contact details are on the screen at the moment. Thank you for watching. I hope you have found this session helpful and you're excited to complete the last session before launching enableHR to your employees.